Psychological wholesaling hack to get the seller to say yes every single time. What is up, guys? Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I want to show you exactly an amazing hack to get your seller to actually want to go with you, and most importantly, say yes every single time you talk to them so you can start closing more wholesaling real estate deals. That is right. I've read a lot of psychology books, sales books, all these different tactics, and after doing tens of thousands of offers to motivated sellers, I know exactly what gets a seller to say yes and what gets them to say no. And what I want to do today is really share with you exactly my step-by-step guide to get a yes every single time. Now, a yes is not guaranteed every single time talking to a seller, but if you're able to implement these type of strategies, you have a way better chance of getting a deal, getting it locked up, and getting it sold so you can make that money wholesaling real estate. So let's talk about the first thing about getting the seller to say yes. And this first lesson is letting the seller feel like they got a quote win in there, right? Have you ever had an argument with somebody and you basically said, well, you're kind of right, but, and you give them some credit so they feel like that they're understood and they got a little win in there. But at the end of the day, you're the one winning the argument, right? And the ability to make a seller feel like they're winning or they've won the argument or won the negotiation, even though you're actually winning and making the money, is in essence getting a seller to say yes because they feel like they're winning. Now, this isn't tricking them. This isn't making them feel like they're not winning, but this is a old school sales secret that I've used that gets me a lot of stinking deals. So the first hack of making the seller feel like they're winning is what I call meeting in the middle or splitting the difference. Now, you might be screaming like, Zach, I read Chris Voss, she said never split the difference. And a lot of people tell me that, right? They say, I read this negotiation book and they said, don't ever split the difference. And I always love Chris Voss, right? I love that book, Never Split the Difference. But let me tell you the difference between Chris Voss and FBI hostage negotiations and wholesaling houses. First and foremost, when Chris Voss is negotiating with a hostage person and they're basically saying, if you don't get me what I want, I'm going to take somebody's life. There's really not much leeway you can negotiate there. Like, hey, just take a finger off or chop a foot off. Like, that's not how it goes. They get exactly all their demands or the person passes away, which obviously you don't want. And it's really, you can't really split the difference there. In wholesaling or in negotiations for any product, you can split the difference and it's not going to hurt anybody or end their life. And so you can easily go from $20,000 to $15,000 to $25,000 based on basic negotiation principles. And so when people tell me, oh, Chris Voss, he's an FBI negotiator, great guy, but he's trying to put his life and death scenarios into business practices, which sometimes work, but sometimes in my line of work doesn't work at all. So what I want you to understand is splitting the difference doesn't work when you're both equally looking to have the same take. So if I want what I want and they want what they want and we're both reasonable about what we want, in the middle, nobody really wins. I don't make a lot of money and they don't get the most for it, and it's just a lose-lose situation. So what you need to do is, I know this sounds a little crazy, but have the most insane, I call toddler-like demand. And what I mean by this is I've had a lot of young cousins that are so cute and tiny, and they're so funny when they're like 2 or 3 years old because they're able to speak, but they're still crazy. And what I mean by this is if you're at like a 2 or 3 year old, they just have crazy demands. Like, hey, let me drive the car. Hey, I want to go see a fire truck and, crazy things. But you'll find with like food and toys and stuff, they start negotiating at that age, which is really funny, but their logical sense in their brain isn't there. And so, for example, I like calling like an Oreo example. If you ask a toddler, hey, how many Oreos do you want? They're going to say, I want 5,000 Oreos. And you say, no, you can have 1 Oreo. Now, if the toddler knew about my negotiation skills, they would say, well, let's just split the difference and give me 2,500 Oreos. Now, this is an extreme example, but according to Chris Voss, this negotiation doesn't work because splitting the difference is a lose-lose on everyone's part, when really the toddler gets 2,000 Oreos and you have to go provide 2,000 Oreos. The toddler wins in this situation. They get all you can eat Oreos. And the point of this stupid, crazy example is if your ask is so insane towards your benefit and it's so skewed towards you, even if you meet the middle of a crazy demand, you win. And what I mean by this is if you have a super, super low ball offer, like insanely low, like embarrassingly low, and you say, well, why don't we just meet in the middle? The seller feels like they win and you probably make $40,000, $50,000. This is the cornerstone of what my negotiations are always about. So if I know a house is going to sell to a cash buyer for $200,000, my initial offer is probably going to be around $130,000 $120,000, which I know is insane. I do the good cop, bad cop, and basically they're at 180, I'm at 120. Let's meet in the middle at 150, and boom, I make $50,000. The seller feels like they got to win because they brought me up 30 grand, but they killed me for that, and I got to win because I'm making $50,000. So, quote, splitting the difference or meeting in the middle is an amazing hack to start getting more money on your deals. This only works if you're willing to do super low ball offers. And this is what you have to start doing. Make low offers and make a ton of money. This is how you start getting rich wholesaling real estate. Now, the next part about this is another way to sweeten the deal, right? Is if you are able to build rapport with the seller, or at least have the seller feel like you understand them and have some sort of connection, the likelihood the seller says yes increases or almost doubles. So for example, people like people that are like them. And that sounds crazy, but this is society. Vegans tend to like other vegans. Star Wars fans, you tend to like other Star Wars fans. Football fans of the same sports tend to be together, right? People like people just like them. And if you are able to make yourself more relatable to the seller is going to like you more, which they're more inclined to go with you. If somebody likes you, they're probably going to go with you over the other random Joe Schmo wholesaler. Now, when you go meet them at the property or just doing your talking over the phone, I like to mirror my seller and kind of match their tonality or match their vibes. For example, if I'm talking to an old school, I'm from the Bronx, Italian American type guy, which I mean, very stereotypical, but like I'm from Florida, so there's a lot of those type of guys. They're a very specific type of person, right? They're from the Bronx. They're to the point. They're Italian. They take no attitude. No funny business, right? And they're really funny people and one of the kindest, sweetest people you'll ever meet. But outside, they seem a little rough and gritty out there. And those type of people appreciate when you don't play around or beat around the question or is not to the point or avoids questions. Those type of people you want to be direct with. And those type of people like other type of people like them. Straight to the point, honest and to their word. And you got to be kind of like that. Now, if you're dealing with, and I hate to say this, like a very emotional type person, you're going to have to bring emotions with the conversation. Because if you're dealing with a very emotional person, a tough, straight to the point type person, it is not going to click. It's oil and water, and you guys are never going to make it work into the rapport stage. So you want to be just like them. Now, don't make yourself not like yourself if you're feeling like you're lying or acting. But just kind of mirror yourself like a chameleon a little bit. Don't change who you look like, but change a little bit of your color and you'll end up making more money with rapport. Now, this will increase your chance of getting a deal by probably 10, 15%, which all these little percentages work really, really well for getting the yes every single time. Now, on top of this too, like I've said, the good cop, bad cop approach is probably the only one I would recommend for anybody who wants to almost guarantee to get that yes, because you are blaming all the badness on your partner. And so if you go to Wholesaling.com, you're going to see me talk about the good cop, bad cop method a lot. This is a method of basically blaming your partner for everything and you are the nice person. So a quick example of this is, hey, Mr. Seller, I was telling my partner Rick about the property and he said he was looking to buy the property for around $120,000. See, I shut up there, see the reaction. Now, they might be like, oh my gosh, why are you looking to buy it for way too low? Oh, get out of here. Say, whoa, hey, I know Rick's super cheap. He's crazy. He wants to buy it for $1. But that's the reason why I'm here. I'm the decision maker. I was just mentioning to you what Rick was saying about the property. Now, this little line does save me a lot. But the one thing is, you just got what the seller's temperature was on that offer. And now you can kind of go back and renegotiate and say, hey, I know 120 is way too low, but what works for you? Like, I'm trying to be the middleman here. I'm the nice mediator type guy, right? What works for you? That works for him. Can we just meet in the middle? Boom, get that yes and got the deal. And probably the most important part that I've been saving for last here is a lot of people think in negotiation, it's a yes or it's a no. These are the two ways a negotiation can go, but that is not the truth here. There's actually 3 ways a negotiation can go. Yes, no, or maybe. That is it. Let me repeat myself. A negotiation can go yes, I want to sell my house, shake hands and write up the contract. It can go no, or it can be a maybe or I'll think about it. Somebody saying they'll think about it is hands down the worst possible scenario you can possibly get here. Because a yes obviously is boom, a great deal. A no, it's not the most ideal, but we can maybe negotiate from there, possibly follow up in the future and get the deal. But usually when you get a maybe, there's no coming back from that. You can follow up, but the chance of getting a deal from a maybe is not good. They usually just take your offer as leverage and then say they'll go out here and think about it. The key way to combat this is something I call conditioning the seller. And what conditioning the seller is making sure the seller is ready to make a yes or no decision on selling their property before you meet them at the house. Basically what this does is creates an upfront agreement that the seller is not going to say maybe. And the way I do this is before I call the seller, meet them tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Seller, before I go meet you, I just want to confirm we're all good for 1 o'clock tomorrow. Great. I just want to have an upfront talk with you. Are you ready to make a yes or no decision on selling the property when I go see you? I don't want to waste your time or my time, and I want to make sure that when I go there, we can be in agreement on a yes or no on my offer. And they basically say, yes, I can make it. They can say, yes, I can say yes or no, or they're going to say, no, I can't make a decision. And then you ask why. Most likely it's like, well, my spouse is out of town and she's coming back next Tuesday. And then you say, okay, well, let me know when. And then boom, you go meet them at the house when they're ready to make that decision. Then from there, they only say yes or no, and boom, you're good to go. Now, sometimes when you give that offer, they say, oh, I'll think about it, and say, well, Mr. Seller, like, I know I'm a man of my word. When I asked you if you were ready to make a decision, you said yes, and I'm hoping you're honoring your word. Like, I did say that, didn't I? Okay, sure, I'll sign it. Boom. That's how you get the deal done. And that is how you get a yes every single time from your motivated sellers. Guys, if you like these type of wholesaling hacks and acquisition stuff, make sure you go to my free real estate wholesaling course, freewholesaling.com. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.